Hi, I'm Lisa Chastain, and welcome to the Real Money Podcast. Some of the most successful women in the world hate talking about money, and that's exactly why we're here. My mission is to remove fear around finances by creating a simple, effective way to manage your money and build the financial freedom you deserve. As a keynote speaker, best-selling author, and passionate coach, I will be sharing my insights on overcoming money challenges, coaching women live on air, and interviewing some of the most accomplished women to learn from their experiences. So, say goodbye to fear, say goodbye to budgeting woes, and welcome to Real Money. What if the insurance industry you're already relying on to protect your business is broken? Today, my guest is Ciara Gravier, and she is blowing the whistle on what's happening behind the scenes, especially in the wake of Florida's catastrophic hurricanes, and what every business owner needs to know before the next storm or fire hits. Ciara is the founder and CEO of the Bunker Insurance and Risk Management. With over 15 years in the industry and with elite designations, especially around cybersecurity, she's not just talking about insurance, she's shaping how we manage risk, protect our wealth, and build sustainable businesses. She's in the top 1% of insurance agents in the United States today, and we're having a deep and meaningful conversation about what you must know when it comes to insurance today and for the rest of your life. Welcome to the Real Money Conversation with Ciara. Let's dig in. Okay, so Ciara, we met from a friend of mine in Florida, and she's like, "You've got to talk to Ciara."
Yes.
And I was like, yes, cool. And then we had a conversation and I said, "I love you." And we're on the same page. We're on the same page about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those things is where the insurance industry is headed.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody listening to this in this moment can relate to the pain of insurance, the commercial insurance pain if you're a business owner or have multiple properties, or even personal insurance. We've seen our rates go up and up and up and up. And I have teenage boys, and so I'm paying as much as a car payment or mortgage in insurance.
No.
And my dad always told me growing up never be insurance poor or over-insured. But, watching what happened in LA and the fires, and you're in Florida in the wake of all these hurricanes, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck? And yeah, go ahead.
We're ranked like a notch above car salesmen. Like, we are the public's least favorite advisors. I'm actually releasing some content soon about like trying to change the perspective of the insurance agent, because aside to what it's turned into, right? And depending where you are in Florida, it's the wild, wild west with insurance companies and the lawsuits and the fraud. It's wild. So it's never a fun conversation to have. Nobody enjoys it. Nobody likes to pay it, which I understand. I am a consumer as well. But the reality is that at that moment when you need it, man, do you wish you would have just paid a little bit more attention or chosen the representation just a little more carefully. And so really, I'm super passionate about that, right? Because people think, you could just buy it online. I mean, you could, right? But most people don't know what any of these coverages means, right? And the coverages aren't just coverages. This is how I always explain it. Like, coverages and policies that you're purchasing, they're words on a document until there's a claim, and then you find out that it's kind of Swiss cheese on a document, right? It's telling you what's covered until you go to the exclusions part and they take it all back. So it's a contract, and it should be treated as such.
Yeah.
So I especially when you're in business, right? Like, personal lines, obviously, like having young drivers, you need an umbrella. Mm-hmm. And if Vegas, which I think it is a little bit like Florida as far as lawsuits.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
We have attorneys on every billboard across town, depending on what side of town you're in. Some of them are in Spanish, some of them are in English, but they're everywhere.
Everywhere.
And that's because it's become overly litigious. Is insurance the reason for that?
Some people believe it is. Like, I actually insure an attorney that says I don't believe in purchasing malpractice because that's what allows me to get sued. If I don't have it, what are they going to come after? That's risky for me. I mean, I sell insurance, so I'm risk adverse. But I think that I think that if the consumer, whether you're buying your personal insurance or you own a business and you understand your tolerance of risk, the conversation is different, right? Insurance is there to transfer the financial burden of risk. So, for example, insurance in Florida, if you own a home, if you don't have a mortgage, you don't have to have insurance. Okay. Well, do you have the money in the bank to replace your roof or your home if there is damage? And maybe, my dad has lived here almost all of his adult life, and he's never had a hurricane claim. He's 73 on a fixed income, and he says, you know what, I'm going to risk it. I don't have a mortgage, and I have a stash for any major damage. And the odds are that I don't need it.
Yeah. Okay. But we're talking to the majority of Americans right now
Right.
who do not have ultra high net worths, do not have a tremendous amount. I mean, in excess of $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. And if you lose your house in a hurricane or a fire and you're not insured and you don't have that money sitting in the bank, you're fucked.
So honestly, the simplest answer to that is if you cannot afford the premium, you can't afford the loss. So if the insurance policy, if you're complaining that a $15,000 insurance policy is too expensive and that's going to be hard for you to pay, well, what is it going to be to pay when the house burns down?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then you need to purchase that insurance.
Okay.
And understand how the deductibles play, right?
That's right. So what we're not here to do on this episode today is argue whether or not you need insurance, because both of us believe that it's a very necessary thing depending on all the things that you own. Right?
Absolutely.
Even renters having a little renter insurance. I'm in a commercial building having protection there. I have cybersecurity insurance because I'm an online personality giving out quote unquote advice, right? So there's all these reasons, and the world has just become really savvy to insurance, and there's going to be people who do the right thing and people who do the wrong thing, and everybody is going to know how this system works. There are people that are going to use it to their advantage, some people that are going to use it to other people's disadvantage, right? There's all of that in between. Let's take a step back because you've been in insurance for a long time.
Yeah, for almost over 20 years. Yeah.
No one grows up saying they're going to be an insurance agent ever.
Ever.
What made you decide to go in insurance?
So I actually graduated high school. My dad came to this country from Cuba when he was 14, and his dad walked into a bank and on a handshake, got a $600 loan to start a tow truck business. And not speaking the language, just tried. And my dad got caught up in the American dream of working for corporate America. And his dad kept telling him, they're owning your soul. They're owning your soul with a company car. Like you sold out your whole life for a company car. But at the time, my dad said, this is what I came here for, right? I have a career. And so, but at 49 and my mom was 47, they had had enough. My mom worked for Equifax all of her life. He ended up being at that point working for UPS and as an account executive, and they were just exhausted and they were tired of working for other people. And they said, you know what? We're going to open up an insurance agency, and never owned a business, never sold a piece of insurance. However, I do remember even like sitting at the dinner table, they were always good insurance purchasers.
Okay.
Like I knew our insurance agent's name. We talked about it at the dinner table. Like, yes, we added the ring. Yeah. So they were always responsible and believers of insurance.
Okay.
But they just did it. They took money out of their 401k and opened a business, and we started with Allstate. And so the long answer to your short question is I didn't have a choice. I was going to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale at the time, and I didn't get a scholarship. I was going for interior design, and they were like, we need you to work in the business. Sorry, we can't afford to keep sending you. We'll send you back when we make it.
Yeah.
And that we made it, but they never sent me back. And so eventually we did very well. We opened up in Allstate. But in Florida, I don't know if it's like this in Vegas. And at the time, Allstate doesn't run any property insurance. They only did the auto. Okay. So it was very difficult for us. We were leaving a lot of money on the table, and we would win the trips. And we opened a second location, and we realized, wait a minute, everybody has what's known as an independent on the side.
Yeah.
If the husband owns the Allstate, the mom or the wife or the sister own an independent on the side.
Yeah.
So we got back from the Bahamas one year and I opened the independent upstairs. My dad was downstairs. Eventually we got rid of the Allstates. We sold those. And then we had that agency for 12 years and we sold that one in 2018. And then I opened this one November of 2019. So insurance, it's so funny. You go to a conference and that's always the question, like who here walked into insurance for fun, like did it on their own? One person out of 600 people, like
not one.
Never. It's never, ever, ever something that's chosen. But honestly, it's a great career. And it's a noble profession when you do it right? Because you really are helping people protect their biggest assets and their financial, freedom,
Yep.
really. So
yeah, I agree. Okay, so I've had other insurance conversations on the podcast. This is my first time really digging into commercial insurance. And what really, where you and I connected originally was having this conversation about what's going on in Florida on the heels of so many hurricanes and really looking at what happened in LA. People just were not insured. They were not able to get coverage. Break it down for us. What is going on in the world of insurance right now where people can't get coverage? Or in my words, I feel like this is a disruption that's needed to happen, but also it's creating a lot of havoc. What's going on in the industry right now?
The biggest mistake that we make as consumers is looking at insurance, which it makes sense. It's the natural way of thinking. Like, for example, South Florida. Well, South Florida hasn't had a hurricane, right? Thankfully, we've gotten lucky because the last couple of years we've missed it by like 35 miles, right?
Well, South Atlantic too. You're on the South Atlantic side.
Right. So it's shocking, right? But we haven't missed it. So the mindset is, well, I haven't had a claim. Why does my insurance keep going up? Why are the carriers dropping me? Well, insurance is on a global scale, right? And there's reinsurance that comes into play. There's been over I believe the number is $29 billion in losses in 2024 in the world.
$29 billion.
It's a statistic that it's shocking.
Yeah.
So when insurance is purchased on a global scale, that's where the fires affect us just like hurricanes affect you guys.
Okay,
right?
so it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Our insurance carriers buy insurance for their right? That's the process of the reinsurance. So when them not being profitable starts many layers deep. And statistically, and they have the actuarial numbers to the science of how much they have to have insured, how much premium they can charge. And, every state comes into regulation with what's acceptable. And I know that State Farm had a big issue during the fires. And I obviously am in this industry. I'm not saying that they did it right or wrong, but, the media also makes it seem like State Farm just randomly dropped these people. Well, no, there's regulations and notifications that have to be sent out. I don't know what it is in California. Here, it's like 120 days out. You start getting notices. Your insurance is going to be canceled. We're non-renewing you this date. So it's not that the fires were coming and State Farm said cancel, and these people had no insurance.
Okay. So they were given notice. Why do insurance companies cancel people?
Multiple reasons. If actuarially they can't cover the losses that are projected, right, by their geniuses that they have at their home office, that this is their entire life, they'll get off certain areas, high risk areas. And so, for example, here, State Farm doesn't do homeowners or property insurance, not commercial, not a home, none of it. Neither does none of the carriers do. Not Progressive, not Geico, none of them. They only write personal auto in the state. And so they just don't, they don't have the funds, or they don't want to appropriate the funds to the disaster area that is Florida.
Wow.
So, and I think that that's what's happening now in California. They're pulling back. I know that California has the fire plan, right? That is in play. We kind of have that here with Citizens Insurance, which is our government funded, but it's a wheel, right? Citizens will pick you up and then take you out in 3 to 6 months. You're with another carrier because they're the carrier of last resort. They don't want to be the permanent carrier. So it's actuarial stuff. Some of them get acquired. I mean, in 2023, we lost 8 carriers here that went insolvent.
How many 8 carriers that went insolvent? And so we're going to break this down because my Real Money community is a learning community. Insolvent means they didn't have the money to pay out what they needed to pay out. And they closed their doors, and whoever was insured under them lost their coverage.
Lost their coverage with notification though. It's
Yeah,
not
of course.
overnight. Yeah. So it's not like you had time to find, if you open your mail, and which is shocking how many people don't.
Yeah.
So, there's a responsibility and a burden on the insured, right? So that's kind of part of this conversation too. It's be aware of what's happening with your insurance. Check in with your insurance agent. And that's why, I'm on the side of this is not something that should be handled alone and buying it online. It's too complex.
Buying it online, but then also I've heard from our other friend, Ashley, who we know in common, I've heard horror stories of people who have a coverage, maybe they bought it online, maybe they didn't, but they're really not protected, and they even have an insurance agent. How can someone know the difference between a quote unquote good agent versus someone that they may not want to work with? Because in my opinion, not now I know because I've had multiple conversations in the industry, but how do you know?
Yeah, I would say, ask them a couple questions as far as obviously experience matters, right? If I was a consumer that didn't know what I was doing on, purchasing insurance, and most of my peers do this because they're on a hamster wheel of customer service and that area of business, which there's always that element to business. But I would say if I was handled as a number, you're getting the quote, the apples to apples jargon of, well, send me your policy and I'll match what you have. Yeah, but how do you know if what I have in place is right? What if I'm calling you because my circumstances in my life has changed? What if I've had a baby? What if I bought a second house? What if I opened a business, right? And no, if someone just wants to copy the work or your current policy that you have, that's a red flag for me.
Yeah, me too.
It's a conversation. We need to get to know you. Why, if someone calls us for a quote, we're always asking outside of price. I know everyone is price sensitive. I know that it's expensive. We know that. But what else is there? What's under that? Have you never been explained what you're buying? I would ask them about exclusions specifically. Is there any language that's excluded here that I should know about? For example, if you own a business, even cyber is the perfect line to describe this with. You could have coverage for ransomware under most cyber policies, but the language of the payout of a claim can be either pay on behalf or reimbursement. So it's not that there's not coverage. There's coverage, but on a pay on behalf, the insurance company pays the ransom and everything involved on your behalf.
Yep.
The reimbursement language means you, the insured, has to pay for it up front and then submit for a reimbursement from the carrier. Both have coverage, right? But which one do you want? Which one is it worth paying maybe an extra $200 a year for, right?
Yep.
The pay on behalf.
What a great reminder, and I'm going to throw this right back to our listeners today, is that what I'm hearing you say is just because you have coverage doesn't mean that you have the right coverage.
Right.
And I see this all the time with life insurance, where someone says, oh, I'm paying $60 a month and I think that it's $100,000. But to your point, what are the exclusions? What are the terms and conditions of this policy? Before you get in, know what you're buying. And the same thing goes to insurance when it comes to your property, your auto, and your business.
And your business. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like, shameless plug for you, right? You need to have a good attorney, and I'm talking specifically to those of you who are thinking, okay, so you may be in a 9-to-5 today, you may be making $60,000-$80,000 a year, but you have big dreams, and you need to know who needs to be on your team, who are the people, what is essential. Well, everybody says you need to have an attorney and a CPA. Totally get that, and you need a good insurance broker. And the big names aren't always the best names. Just because you see them every other commercial doesn't mean that they're going to adequately protect you. What's the difference between an Allstate and an independent broker?
So Allstate, State Farms, those types of agencies are what are known as captive, and they can only represent one carrier. They can only represent those products. independent agents like myself, like Ashley, we get to choose who we work with and who we represent, and we can provide options.
Yep.
And so we're not married to, it's kind of the same thing as like the financial advisor that is married to a bank,
Yeah.
right? Or a Merrill Lynch, let's say, versus an independent advisor that's not committed to minimums of business, that, you know, I don't have minimums. I get to offer you what I believe based off of our conversation is the best solution for your circumstances.
Yep.
So that's the freedom of working with an independent agent. And we're not the ones that have the Super Bowl money budget, right? to run the commercials. And also with the large box agencies too, there's a lot of misconceptions of like, you know, that you need to be with those alphabet houses. And the reality is that there's a lot of turnover there. There's a lot, you're a small fish in a ginormous pond. And working with an independent agent that's local, I mean, we're the people that are sponsoring your kids' soccer games, right? Like, we are in your communities, and you're a big fish in a small pond with us, you know? So the service is different. The attention is different.
It is. You're the first person people call when they
Right.
need something.
And to your point, I 100% agree with, unfortunately, we're never put on in that category with the attorney, or we're always
CPA.
like last resort. Oh my God, my insurance, I need this, right? So I would encourage the listeners to consult with your insurance advisor the same way you chose your attorney, right?
Or your doctor.
Maybe you probably interviewed a couple of attorneys before you picked one. You know, just know what you're looking for, and make sure that it feels good and that they're comfortable, you know, answering your questions.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about cheap policies versus best policies, because I know this is going to trigger a lot of people, because price shopping is a thing online and you're looking for the cheapest insurance. But heads up, two things that I've learned, and I'd love for you to speak into this. A cheap policy on the front end could be something that over time, they might sell you something cheap, but then in the next 90 days, raise your rates. So you're that person, you're like, oh my God, I thought it was going to be X amount per month, and then I just got it raised. What happens? Well, they're going to hook you in with a cheaper rate, and then over time, they're going to raise it. So there's one thing to remember. But also, you're not getting the best coverage. Sometimes you're getting bare minimum coverage, which really isn't good at all. So in Vegas, we have state minimums, and they're crap.
It also, whether it's your personal assets or your business assets, right? Like, people forget that it's not just protection against like a claim. It's not just a car accident that these insurance companies are covering when you're purchasing your auto insurance. It's also your defense. When you own a business and you're buying cyber liability insurance, right? The mentality of that's never going to happen to me because I'm too small. No, it happens to us all the time because we're so small.
Yeah.
Because these cyber criminals know we don't have the infrastructure to have an IT team. So they practice on us before they go after the targets. The thing is that we don't survive to tell the story, right? So, and that scenario of a cyber claim, it's not just fixing the data problem, it's your defense. It's any regulatory fines. So when you're thinking about insurance, it's not just the immediate expense that you think of naturally. A car accident, well, bodily injury, right? Or I send someone to the hospital, that's covered. Far more than that is covered. If that thing explodes and goes to court, your attorney fees are covered. Imagine hiring an attorney for any sort of a negligence or accident. How much does that cost you? So I want to encourage the listener to use insurance as a tool, especially in business. It's not just an expense on a P&L. It's not just a line item. It can be a tool, especially if you're in the government contract space, especially if you're in construction or in places where your insurance can open a door and get you a big job or doesn't, right?
That's right.
So we all got to pay it, and we all don't want to pay it, understood. But when you look at it from a different lens, and you realize that it can be a mechanism to grow a business, it really does change. And you should be working with an insurance agent that does more for you than just sell you a policy.
Agreed.
Right? There should be some risk management conversations. There should be some advisory type conversations, not just I need to save $400 this year or I'm moving.
all kinds of people are listening to this. My audience primarily are thinking about all the things and growth minded. So we're not thinking about just where we are, but we're thinking about where we're headed. And what I like to do is pull all of my professionals together and say, okay, let's look at this, look at where I'm at today and make some decisions based on where I'm going, and then check in every single year. Okay, where are we at? Do we need more? Do we have enough? Because I don't have, candidly, $3 million sitting in the bank today, right? And most people don't. I carry gap insurance until my car's paid off. All these things you need to think about because you think it's never going to happen to you, and then it does.
And so to your point too, Lisa, when you said about like if you're in corporate and you're thinking about maybe going out on your own, all that stuff, even if you're in corporate and you stay in corporate, when I hear that someone say, oh, I don't need to buy life insurance, I have it through work. No, yes, you do. Because when you leave work or you change jobs or you decide to go out on your own, that life insurance policy ceases to exist.
Yep.
You need so then you could have gotten that job at 25 and now you're 42 and you're leaving and you've already survived breast cancer. Guess what? It's going to be nearly impossible for you to get insurance on your own. You have it in that scenario because it's a group. Like it's so complex. There's so many layers to it. And so I'm on the same team as you of having the right people around you can literally make or break your business.
Yeah, your business and your life. We're going to shift focus. And we're going to talk about you. We're going to more about you. From launching your own firm to becoming one of the top % of agents nationwide, what are some of the pivotal moments that transformed your money mindset?
I would say it's constantly transforming. Mm-hmm. And what I think I want, first of all, I never stop and celebrate like the achievements, right? So I think that plays into a part of the go. And I really, really need to celebrate the wins when it comes to even my finances, right? And like even personally and the business. I don't do that enough. And I actually think that would probably help me achieve more if I did. If I took a moment to stop and say, wow, man, you made it, see, like, good job, right? So that's one thing that I actually struggle with. It's never enough. But I opened this business November of 2019 with not one client, with 0 clients. And then, March 2020 came around. And so I think that surviving that first year in business, and the insurance business is a great business to any of your listeners. If you're looking for a business to grow and to enjoy residual income, it is a great business. Insurance is something that's needed. People might as well buy it from someone that they like, right?
Yep.
It's it has created many, 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 many legacies in this country, right? But I would say that really the money mindset, it's something that's constantly shifting for me. As far as like how big of a team, I don't have any children. So I always feel like that's a caveat because most people work super hard because they have children, right? And they need to leave a legacy and they need to send them to college and save for the grandkids. I don't have children. So sometimes I ask myself, like, when is enough enough? Because who are you doing this for? Where are you going to leave it, right?
Yeah.
So, it's depending on the day, I guess I would say I know that I want to create the day that I do exit this business, it's because I have a number in mind revenue wise where I want to be in the multiple I want to sell it for. And that doesn't change. Yeah.
I love that. You have your eye on the prize. And I wish more business owners would do that. Really think for yourself, what is it that you're reaching toward? Because more is a trap.
It is, and honestly, to be very candid, it is taking a toll on my health. It really has. And I think that even though I have this idea of where I want to be when I exit, I think that's also a mistake that most business owners, and probably women, because I don't think that we don't have the same level of education in this business world than the others. But I really do believe, like, if you have to accept the fact that there's going to be an exit of your business, whether it's forced or sold.
Yep.
But you could pass away, you can get sick and have to sell on an emergency. There could be a partnership and the partner buys you up, whatever. There's so many ways that your business can end.
Yep.
That if you think about the exit during the present time, I think it shapes your decisions different.
I agree. I'm in that conversation right now because as a consultant, my entire brand revolves around me. And so now I'm thinking, okay, how do I grow and sustain and at some point exit this entire body of work that I'm doing? I'm in the process of now reimagining it so it's not just me.
Right.
Yeah, but it's so important because if it is just about you, like you said, at some point, something's going to happen and it may not be your choice.
Right.
And that all goes because entrepreneurs are risk takers. But where is your ass on the line that you need a backup or a safety net underneath? And so many entrepreneurs just ride the line. And this whole conversation is about, are you protected? Are you adequately protected? And yes, there are some massive shifts happening in the industry, but good protection still exists. So good protection still exists. So, loaded question. For the Palisades fire, even for these hurricanes that happened in Florida the last several years, when someone isn't insured, is it their fault?
My answer might be a little biased, honestly, because I know as someone that is on this side of it, how many times I have to remind someone of a payment. I mean, I have someone dedicated to 4, 5, 6th reminder to make their monthly installment. So, I mean, obviously everyone's circumstances is different, but I do believe that there is a burden of responsibility on the consumer to know your situation with insurance, make sure that your bills are paid. Right?
Yeah. So it's truly not that someone can't get insured.
Correct.
It's more so that either they're towing the line of risk, they didn't pay attention to the details, they didn't know what they didn't know, which it happens. But it's the due diligence of the homeowner, of the business owner to make sure they're covered and protected, and that still exists. Now, if you don't want to pay it, I get it, but it doesn't mean that there isn't coverage out there for you.
Correct. And the consumer that has had 3, 4 claims, difficult. In Florida, if you have a water claim, if you have a second water claim, very difficult or nearly impossible to afford to get homeowners insurance. Right?
That's different though, because you can get insurance, but the affordability is different.
Correct. So there's so many scenarios when it comes to that, but there's people in my space that won't remind their insureds that they have payments because we're not your personal assistant.
No,
it's not our responsibility.
No,
I do it because I feel like it's part of my the service aspect of why the bunker exists, right? Like, I understand what it's like to run a business. I understand that sometimes a bill will fall or there's a change that was made that wasn't, anything can happen. So we do it. That is my decision. But ultimately, if you want to control your destiny when it comes to your finances, be responsible.
Yep.
And don't leave it in the hands of an insurance company that you're a number to, because that's at the end of the day, we're all just numbers to them, right?
That's right.
So, and that representation matters, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Choosing your insurance agent matters. That's why you would go to an insurance agent and not buy it online.
Yep. I would personally rather pay more to have the relationship and the coverage so that I can call with questions and someone's got my back. And as business owners, we need people who have our back.
Right.
And I remember my dad's best friend growing up, Kit Bell. Shout out to Kit. He's no longer with us. He was our insurance agent. We could always go see him, always call, change things as needed. And insurance was something my parents always said, hey, don't be overinsured, don't be insurance poor, but always have insurance. So with that, let's talk about the future of insurance, because it seems really shaky right now. I mean, the whole future, the future of the country seems like it's on the rocks right now, but where is insurance headed in the wake of all of these changes as an industry?
Technology is always a threat in our space because it's a legacy agency and slow to adapt.
Okay.
So that's number one. Number two, for the insurance industry as well, which if any of your listeners are considering a second career, the retirement rate that's happening, we can't find people fast enough because this is not a sexy industry.
No, it's not.
And it's a difficult industry for the first 3 years. It's a lot of sacrifice. It's a lot of hard work and sacrifice for at least 2 to 3 years. Year 4 till infinity. If you're doing if you're a good insurance agent, you know your stuff, technician wise, and you can create relationships, because this is a relationship business. You're good. Mm-hmm. You would have more business than you know what to do with if you can get past the first 3 years. And because you don't have a book of business at that time, right? So it's a little difficult. Mm-hmm. But I would say those are the biggest threats that are coming towards us. The insurtechs that are coming in, the websites that are telling you get 6 quotes fast. No, they're not giving you quotes. Those are data mining companies that you're giving your data to. And then you're going to have 9 agents calling you, harassing. Don't do that. Don't fall for that.
Right.
But I would say that those are the two bigger things for our space. Obviously, catastrophes are growing, and I mean, there was an earthquake in Georgia maybe about 2-3 weeks ago that my uncle lives there, and he felt it in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I mean, that's when was that? When was that a thing? Okay. Right? Are insurance policies in Georgia equipped to handle an earthquake? Probably not.
Probably not.
So that creates a whole other thing, right? The natural disasters and catastrophes will always be something that the insurance industry will have to pivot with.
Just because you have insurance doesn't mean you're adequately insured. Just because you have an insurance agent doesn't mean that person is looking out for you and your best interests. Insurance is a very personal conversation. And the question for you today to my listeners is, do you have what you need when the thing that you think will never happen does? And I hope that that's a wake-up call and a thought-provoking conversation that we can continue to have here on the Real Money Podcast. So as listeners, let us know what it is that you want to know more about. We can break this conversation down into a ton of detail. We wanted to spare you the details today because we wanted to talk about what risk really is, what it really means, and also how to find the right insurance agent for you. And do you insurance people more than just Florida, or are you Florida specific?
Yeah, I'm licensed in a couple states. I'm licensed in California, South Carolina, but I can't. It's an easy thing, and even if someone was to reach out to me and I couldn't do it, I have a ton of friends that are really, really great agents that I could refer them to.
I have to say, I really love that about you and Ashley in particular, is that you have this great community of insurance agents where it can be very competitive and cutthroat, but you all really support each other and share the love, because listen, there's 300 million people here in America alone. We can all do this work together. Sure. I will say that I got it. The reason I am in finance today is because I got an email from Farmers Insurance when I was job searching that said I could make $400,000 a year. And it perked my ears up enough.
And look at you. Look at you. Yeah. Did you ever try insurance or no?
I never went that route. I ended up joining my friend's financial firm, but that was the thing that piqued my interest enough to go, oh shit, people in insurance make a lot of money.
It's so funny too, because I sit on the board of a local association here. We're trying so hard to get these kids out of college that they all want to go the stock market route because it's sexy. Sure. But this industry is very, very generous, relationship-wise. I mean, friendship-wise. Yes, you can create an incredible living. It's definitely a good industry. So I really, really encourage people to at least give it a shot, because you can grow professionally, personally. It's worth it.
I love it. All right, before we jump into the rapid fire round, which is really fun, it's kind of a this or that conversation.
I love that.
I know, me too. I love games. Okay, what are the things that people must know right now when it comes to their insurance? We talked about a lot, but let's just high level it for them. What do they have to know right now?
So first, I would make sure that your carrier has a good rating, and you can check that AM Best rating is the most respected. You want an A-rated carrier to be insured with because that is based off of their financial stability. First of all, second of all, your limits. Look at your limits. If you only have what the state requires, I guarantee you that is not enough.
Yeah.
Umbrella policies are not for only rich people. Don't forget, it's not just about the assets that you have in the bank. If you have I don't know, speaking for Florida, right?
Yeah.
Okay, in Florida, they can't touch your primary home. But if you have a secondary home, if you have some money in the bank, all up for grabs at the time of a lawsuit involving an accident, a car accident. And those attorneys, they are ruthless. They will go after every penny you have.
Yep.
Get an umbrella. They're not expensive. They're not. I think that's also one of the biggest misconceptions is that people think it's so expensive. It can be if you're a bad driver. And unfortunately, when you have young drivers that are inexperienced, yes. But that's when you need it the most. If you have toys, if you have ATVs and jet skis, the amount of horrific accidents that happen on these toys, you need to have, because it doesn't matter if it's your sister or your friend. Their child gets injured, they're coming after you.
Yep.
You need to protect yourself, and it's not as expensive. So I would say the majority of people need umbrellas. And really just check on those limits. You want to make sure that you have enough limits. You want to make sure that another common exclusion, depending on where you live, the breed of dog that you have. Mm-hmm. Some of these insurance companies have unacceptable dogs that they will not insure. They will not give you liability coverage on your home if you have a certain breed of dog. Did you buy a dog in the last year? Have you told your insurance agent? Those are the conversations that a good insurance agent should be having with you. And that would be if you haven't had a conversation about your limits changing, your circumstances changing, even outside of that. Like I don't do personal insurance anymore, but when we used to, I would have conversations about estate planning. Mm-hmm. If you have 2-3 properties in the state of Florida and they're not in a trust, they're going to probate. Your family's going to have to fight the state for years to get all of your hard work back. Yeah. Talk about that. Your insurance agent should be referring you to these professionals that can help in the asset protection. It's not just paying a policy. So if those conversations have not been had, think about it. Try to find a new one.
That's right. Find a new one. And this is exactly why I love working with women. Mm-hmm. Because women tend to take these conversations deeper, farther, faster, and look at the whole of your situation and make sure that holistically you're good. Now, I'm talking to my avoiders right now, and if you're an avoider, you know who you are. Burying your head in the sand and pretending like these things don't exist is only causing more stress for you. Mm-hmm. You cannot bury your head in the sand. Let's open up the conversation. Let's have it now. And let's make sure that all of your assets, all of your income combine with your insurance policies to make sure that you can sleep well at night. And I will tell you, having my estate planning done, having all of my insurance, having Ashley on my side as my insurance agent, I sleep better at night knowing I have an umbrella policy. I sleep better at night knowing that my kid's adequately protected. There are a lot of myths in this industry. Make sure you know the difference between what is a fact and what is a friend telling you something. And the only person that's going to know that are people like you, Ciara, where you've got all these certifications, you're in the conversations, you're going to conferences, you're up to date, the real deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep. It's definitely the Facebook groups of I'm paying. My friend told me that they have everything insured for $129 a month. No, why are we taking advice for anything in Facebook groups like that? Right. Like, come on, like we're past that. Yeah. And honestly, I would say the same thing now with the AI conversation, right? Like, yes, we all get life advice from ChatGPT, but that shouldn't be the only decision, or the only factor. You educate, you consume, you educate yourself, but then go to a professional to clarify what you've read. Are you understanding it correctly? Help me make the decision. Guide me to what you think is what I need. AI cannot do that.
Bottom line, you get what you pay for.
And everything, right, in life,
Yep,
not just insurance.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready to have a little fun?
Yeah.
All right, this is a lighthearted conversation. I love either or and this and that conversations and questions because they just get me thinking. So the first one I have for you is insurance nerd or risk rebel?
Oh, I'm insurance nerd. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not very risky. No.
Hurricanes or cyber attacks? What keeps you up at night?
Hurricanes. Hurricanes.
Early mornings or late nights?
Turning into early mornings.
Yeah,
My brain is exhausted by the end of the day, so I'm a 5:30 girl now.
me too. Welcome to the 5:30 club. I love it.
Yeah.
Delegate or DIY?
Oh, I am also working very hard on the delegation piece. I read Who Not How by Dan Sullivan.
Yeah,
And it changed my life. So delegate, it is a way better way of life. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. White walls or black walls?
White.
White.
You're right.
Okay. Personal growth book or true crime podcast?
Personal growth all the
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. I love it. So great conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today. How can people get to know you and learn about the work you're doing with the bunker?
Yeah, so I'm on all socials. I'm on Instagram at Bunker Your Risk. I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably my preferred platform. Ciara Gravier, I'm there. My website's bunkeryourrisk.com. And yeah, we have a YouTube channel where we're doing a lot to try to, like you know, I've stumbled across this wording this year. You know how it changes, right?
Yeah.
The more you think about it and you think, and I really am trying to insulate my insureds with the right professionals, because when the professionals are working, helping the business owner work towards the right goal and the same goal, and we're all helping them row. I mean, isn't that what this is about? Helping people achieve their dreams? Oh, you know, being a part of someone achieving a business, you know, that's a big deal. And I take a lot of pride in that. And it makes me happy to be able to be on someone's team to help them, you know, change their legacy. It's a big deal.
We've got more female business owners and more coming than ever before, more money coming women's way than ever before. We get to figure this out together.
Yep.
And thank you for being a part of the Real Money community for that reason.
Yeah, thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, it was. All right, everyone. This is my final episode this season, and I'm so grateful to have had this conversation with you, Ciara. Thank you so much for being with me today. Thank you to the Real Money community. We'll be back in the fall with some new episodes, new conversations. Hit her up on social media. Let her know what questions you have. Let's keep the conversation going, and we'll see you in the fall with a new Real Money conversation. See you then. Thanks for listening to Real Money. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and let us know what you love about the show. Your feedback is invaluable as we continue to empower women to take control of their financial lives. Until next time, keep thriving and remember, you deserve real money.